Hey everyone, it's Brianna. Today, we're diving into a creepy crime story. Stick around for the chilling details. We've all had bad jokes in our lives. It's always depressing, and sometimes it can have terrible consequences. This is what happened in one couple of young people in the United States, whose relationship ended abruptly and extremely tragically. But was it an unfortunate joke in reality? Let's find out in today's video. Breanna Moore was the youngest daughter of Sydney Booth Cheemer. Besides her, there were two other girls in the family. The heroine of the story had a quiet but independent character. She was purposeful and set great expectations from an early age. All her life, the girl spent in Alaska, in a state that is considered one of the most dangerous for women, according to U.S. statistics. Here, there is a large number of attacks on the fair sex. According to surveys in 2019, up to 50% of all women in Alaska have experienced some form of violence. In school, Breanna Moore was a disciplined and enthusiastic student. She loved animals, so much so that she adopted 4 dogs in addition to the ones her family already had. She was constantly feeding homeless animals, trying to save literally every destitute dog. At the age of 17, all her family started talking about the fact that with her talents and love for animals, she could become a veterinarian and help animals. Brianna was indeed attracted to this activity, but the most interesting for her was pediatrics. The girl, in addition to her love for animals, adored children and got along well with them. In adolescence, she often worked as a nanny. The girl was great with children, including volunteering to help children in need. To obtain a specialized education, she entered the medical faculty at the University of Alaska. As a teenager, Brianna planned to graduate from this institution. To get the necessary experience, during her studies, the girl began to look for work in medical institutions. Near her home was a dentist's office, a private firm. The girl decided to practice, but at that time there were no places for internships. But she did not lose hope for the best. Breanna Moore came to the reception desk every day trying to get a job and found out about vacancies, talked to the receptionist and all the employees she met. All employees already remembered the girl and communicated well with her. Despite Brianna's young age, her persistence was surprising. She took a position as a receptionist and received clients. For this work, she received not only a salary, but also positive feedback, both from the management of the company and from visitors. Everyone was satisfied with the work of a polite and hardworking employee. She could solve literally any problem and negotiate with any, even difficult, client. The personal life of the girl was not easy. In 2014, Breanna Moore started dating Joshua Umide. At that time, she was 19 years old, and the boyfriend was 21 years old. The couple was very attached to each other. They literally sought to spend all their free time together. The girl often stayed overnight at the boyfriend's place, and in this case, they used a bedroom equipped in the basement. The parents of both lovers supported this union and considered them a good couple. Joshua has lived in Alaska since 2006. His parents were military. He was originally born in Japan, as his pregnant mother traveled there on a work-related trip. Therefore, the boy's early years were spent in the Asian country, and later the military department changed the location again, so he had to move to another country in the United States. And then the service brought his family to Alaska. When the Umide family ended up in Alaska, Josh had already graduated from high school and went straight to work. He didn't want to go to college at that point, but he didn't give up the idea of going and studying further when he was a little older. In the meantime, he took a job at an auto repair shop to support himself and be independent. The girl's parents were supportive of the relationship with Joshua. He seemed like a nice guy and the daughter was happy with him. But at the time, they didn't know that the guy had a criminal record. Joshua's record included several felonies at once, including illegal carrying of weapons and physical abuse. Even the guy's own mother had been the victim of his aggression several times. At the time of the events in question, the guy was on probation for possession of psychoactive substances. He was forbidden to carry a weapon, as well as to consume alcohol. However, he systematically violated these prohibitions almost immediately after starting a relationship with Brianna. Friends and family noticed a change in her behavior. While at first she was open, she gradually became more and more withdrawn, not sharing what was going on in her relationship even with her sisters, which was a worrying sign for them. She was usually very sociable, and this caused concern among those close to her. Gradually, the girl's parents also took notice of it. It seemed that she was becoming indifferent to everything. Initially, the mother and father thought that the girl was experiencing the standard difficulties that young people face in relationships. However, the situation was getting worse. Brianna began to behave differently at work. She became distracted and showed less and less enthusiasm. Later, the employee began to withdraw from her daily work. She showed signs of nervousness, especially noticeable when her boyfriend was waiting for the girl in the parking lot in a car. She was afraid of being late, but Brianna denied the obvious and continued to insist that she was fine. The sisters suspected that Joshua was having this effect on her and worried about Brianna. On June 24, 2014, around 8:45 p.m., 20-year-old Brianna picked Joshua up from an Alcoholics Anonymous center that he was required by police to attend. On the way back, he bought a bottle of rum. He then returned home with his girlfriend, where his parents were watching television. Brianna took a shower, during which time her boyfriend managed to empty half of the bottle. Further events were recorded from Joshua's words. He told police that he took out his gun to clean it. In the process, he jokingly pointed it at his girlfriend and then accidentally pulled the trigger. He believed he had removed all the rounds, but unfortunately, one round remained inside. A shot was fired, but the gun had a silencer on it and could not be heard. A short time later, the parents went into Joshua's room and saw a terrible picture. Brianna was lying on the floor with a gunshot wound to the head, and she showed no signs of life. The killer's mother called police around midnight. Emergency services immediately arrived at the house in Anchorage, Alaska. The police immediately suspected that they were not called at once. The girl's body was already cold. About 2 hours had passed since then. It seemed as if Joshua's family used that time to destroy evidence and make falsified statements. The woman explained the time delay by saying that she went up to her son's room immediately after she didn't hear the gunshot and did so late in the evening before going to bed to say goodnight to her son. It was then that she saw the dead girl who had been shot in the head. There was a gun lying on the floor nearby. Joshua insisted that it wasn't his fault and that it was a tragic accident. He did not intend to kill his loved one. The shooter was apprehended and charged with murder, as well as unlawful possession of a weapon. At the first interrogation, the perpetrator changed his testimony, citing the shocked state he was in after the incident. Almeida, 22 years old, told a different story. He said that he went to the shower in the evening, and while the guy was there, a gunshot sounded. Coming out of the bathtub, he found his dead lover, who had voluntarily parted with her life, and Joshua assured that he had nothing to do with it. No one believed the story. Bail was set at $1.5 million because the judge ruled that he was a serious threat to society. But he didn't have that kind of money, and the guy remained in custody. He was facing 10 to 99 years. However, on June 25th, in a second interrogation, the suspect changed his statement again. He admitted that he accidentally shot his lover. Joshua justified himself by saying that he was afraid of the reaction of the parents of the deceased to the truth, so he changed his testimony. Brianna's parents, in turn, had no idea that a potential criminal would stand between them and their daughter. Only now the relatives realized that Joshua attacked even his own mother, trying to run down the ex-girlfriend with a car. He was very dangerous. Parents of the deceased lamented that earlier did not notice the alarm bells in the behavior of the guy and allowed their daughter to meet with him and even spend the night at Josh's place. During their relationship, Brianna repeatedly showed up to work with bruises. Once she didn't even show up for her shift because she failed to disguise the bruises she received. At Joshua's own job, at least 2 people could not work with him, so they quit. His temper was intolerable, aggressive, and unpredictable. As it turned out, this was the result of borderline personality disorder, which is a dangerous mental illness. Investigators immediately noticed a big difference in the suspect's testimony. The obvious one was the fact that the girl did not take her own life. First, the defendant had been drinking heavily that night, to which he responded that Brianna had also been drinking that night with him. Second, there was an expert examination which conclusively established that it was purely physically impossible to shoot oneself at the angle at which the bullet came out. Thirdly, both palms of the girl were shot, which indicates that she tried to defend herself from the shot. It was also established that the killer's mother moved the gun before calling the police. In addition, a silencer was installed on the gun, so the woman did not hear the shot. She found the deceased sometime later. Forensic examination established the girl has no alcohol, which means that she did not drink, which was the final confirmation of the criminal's lie. Just 2 days after the incident, the killer appeared in court for the first time at the preliminary hearing. Relatives and friends of the deceased also attended this session. At them, the criminal behaved exceptionally calmly, as if he had no remorse for the murder of the girl. He calmly answered the questions of the participants of the trial. The guy confirmed his involvement, which made it easier for the parents and friends of the girl who had been shot. It meant that they would not have to attend a lengthy crime description drawn up by the prosecution, nor would they have to go through a long, arduous trial where all the gruesome details of the crime would be voiced. This was a relief for the family because it was extremely difficult for them to look at the case file. After that, a second hearing was scheduled where the perpetrator voiced his version of what happened. On June 9, 2014, Joshua appeared before the participants of the trial for the second time. He said that the girl was taking a shower at his parents' house. While she was away, he brought pillows from the room to the basement where they usually slept. During this time, while his partner was away, he managed to drink half a bottle of rum. When she came out of the shower, they settled uncomfortably on the bed and watched a movie. But that evening, due to bad weather, the electricity was supplied with interruptions, so they did not manage to fully watch the movie. To defuse the situation, the guy pulled out his gun. He offered to show the girl how to handle the gun, and she was interested. Next, Joshua took the gun apart, cleaned it, and then put it back together. Brianna watched with interest. Then the girl said she was tired and would go to bed. Jokingly, he pointed the gun at her. The girl asked him to put the gun away, but he calmed her down by saying it wasn't loaded and then jokingly pulled the trigger. He didn't realize there was a bullet still inside, so a shot was fired. By his own admission, it was a monstrous mistake on his part. When it happened, he immediately ran to the girl and started shaking her by the shoulders to render her assistance. However, it was obvious that she was instantly dead, and there was no one else to help. Joshua began to scream in horror, and at the scream his mother came in and saw this gruesome scene. After describing the story, Joshua apologized to Brianna's family as well as his parents. In court, he repented for what happened and assured that he never wished his girlfriend harm. He loved her very much, and it was a tragic accident. However, the lead prosecutor did not agree with this scenario. In his opinion, it was obvious that the shooting was intentional. The prosecution's version began with the fact that the couple arrived at his parents' home after 8 o'clock in the evening, and in just 2 hours, Joshua had consumed half a bottle of hard liquor. Despite the fact that the girl was not happy about it, the fact was found several text messages at once, in which she expressed her attitude to Joshua's addiction. Brianna wrote, "The fact is that she does not like the state of aggression that the boyfriend comes to after drinking alcoholic beverages, but he continued to drink anyway." That same night, the mother approached the boyfriend, asking what he was doing, and he ignored her, which was a common occurrence, so the woman went to bed. After a while, she heard a scream and ran to his room, after which she found the girl shot. After realizing what had happened, the woman called 911. A bottle of rum was found under the bed. It looked like it had been thrown there during an argument. Apparently, Brianna had voiced her displeasure with her alcohol abuse, and then took the alcohol away from her unstable boyfriend. She threw the bottle under the couch. This triggered the boyfriend's feelings of anger. In a fit of rage, Joshua pulled out his gun, which was always loaded and always at the ready. He pointed the barrel at his girlfriend, who instinctively covered her face with two hands folded on top of each other. The girl was probably hoping it wouldn't come to everything, but it didn't help. Joshua wasn't going to stop. He pulled the trigger. A barely audible shot rang out, which was muffled. The bullet went through both palms before hitting the victim's head. This caused a fractured skull and severe brain injuries incompatible with life. During the testimony of one of the girl's sisters, Brandy, she stated that she was aware of what was going on in Brianna's couple. However, she had no idea that it could go this far and escalate into a cold-blooded murder. Afterward, Brandy cried. She regretted not helping her sister out of the toxic relationship that had ruined her. One of the prosecution witnesses, who was the defendant's ex-girlfriend, told the story of their relationship. In 2012, again while intoxicated, Joshua attacked her. He broke her tooth, then began beating her, dragged her around the room by her hair, and broke a mirror, throwing it at her. The guy did not calm down, so he took his gun and shot twice in the direction of his girlfriend. However, both times he missed. After that, the girl managed to escape from the house and called the police. During this time, the attacker got rid of the gun, so the police officers who arrived could not find him. And in response to the charges, he said that the girlfriend made up stories. He slept all day and did not see her. The defendant's parents confirmed what their son said. They said that none of the investigators of the ex-girlfriend's case came to see Joshua that day. Due to lack of evidence, this complaint was ignored and the guy got away with it. But clearly, an arrest during this period could have saved Breanna Moore's life. In fact, by covering up for their son, the mother and father became accomplices to an even worse crime. The parents of the criminal regretted covering for their son that time, but they were just trying to protect him, as many other parents would have done. They described the relationship with their son as quite strained. The parents couldn't disclose what was going on because they feared for their safety. Strike was, quite literally, silencing them. As a result, two families were affected at once. Joshua's mother, Shannon, reported that he was far from always in an angry state. This happened only after he drank. Alcohol instantly changed him, after which the guy turned into a real monster. When sober, he was quite calm and balanced. He simply could not drink alcohol, so he enrolled in Alcoholics Anonymous courses. The woman thought that he was done with this bad habit. In addition, the defendant's mother testified that she had no idea that there were weapons in the house. The murderer's relatives confirmed that in normal times the victim got along well with Joshua. Everyone loved her and maintained friendly relations. The girl even sometimes said that she was going to move in with them, so none of them expected how the affair would end. The prosecution requested the maximum penalty for the shooter for premeditated murder. The physical evidence argued that the shooting was not due to an accident, but due to an outburst of rage that the criminal could not contain. Forensics showed he didn't clean the gun that night. This was another lie by the perpetrator. The lawyer insisted until the last moment that what had happened was the result of an unfortunate coincidence. After a lengthy deliberation, the jury decided that Joshua Almeida was guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 75 years in prison. However, the punishment involves the possibility of parole. It will not become available to the felon until 2039, when he will be 47 years old. This development was the impetus to revise some of the penalties for crimes in the state. According to statistics, 1 in 14 teens in the United States has suffered physical violence on a date or at the hands of a partner. The document was created in 2015. A set of proposals made it possible to make changes to the legislation in 2018. The document is saturated with the story of Breanna Moore, who became a symbol of the promotion of this initiative. On July 1st, 2014, the family of the deceased organized a memorial evening to remember the beautiful daughter and sister. The closest loved ones were present, including some friends of the victim. The girl's body was cremated, and the ashes are kept in the family.